led by Mr. Ganesh Pandyan, Sir of FS University, Malaysia. And Sir is going to deliver a topic on pharmacist role during the COVID-19 pandemic that is made of the art. And this topic is a bit out of the box for the current theme that is drug development approaches, but I feel that it is a must-read topic of the hour. So I just included those content and the topic in this session. So I think it may be a best useful for the current scenario. And to this, I request my colleague Dr. G. Satish Kumar sir to introduce Mr. Ganesh Pandyan sir to the faculty members. Sir, take this opportunity and I welcome you Ganesh Pandyan sir to the management and principal side to this STDP program. And Satish sir, please take over the session for the intro.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
A very fine good morning to one and all, respected principal sir, delegates and my colleagues. Myself, Satish Kumar Ji, working as a faculty in Department of Pharmaceutical Chemistry in Seven Hills College of Pharmacy. It's my privilege to introduce our honorable speaker of the session, Mr. Ganesh Pandyan Subramaniam sir. Sir is currently working as a senior lecturer in Department of Clinical Pharmacy and Pharmacy Practice, Faculty of Pharmacy, AIMS University, Bedong, Malaysia. Sir has completed his studies in Tamil Nadu, Dr. M.G.R. Medical University, Tamil Nadu. Sir has published research papers in various national and international journals in the field of geriatric pharmacotherapy, clinical pharmacy practice, metabolic syndrome, public health practice, public health pharmacy, and total parental nutrition. Sir has served as a clinical instructor for pediatric ward in Sultan Abdul Halim Hospital, Malaysia. Sir is also having a supervisor position for pharmacotherapy in surgery and TPN clerkship. So with this short introduction, it's time to hand over the session to Mr. Ganesh Pandyan sir. Thank you one and all for giving me the nice opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Satish sir and Dr. Sucharita madam for giving me a brief introduction. So, shall I share my screen, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So, can is my slide visible?
Sir, yeah.
Ma'am, can you see my slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I think some problem with the camera, but I think that is not going to affect anyway. So thanks once again, Dr. Satish sir and for Dr. Sucharita madam for giving me a detailed introduction for me. And before I commence my session, I would like to thank the management of Seven Hills College of Pharmacy, Tirupati, for giving me an opportunity, even though the topic is completely just the picking out the odd one, right? So the topic is completely out, but nevertheless, due to the current pandemic and all the troubles that we are having so far, as a pharmacy fraternity and as a pharmacy faculty, we need to look into something that we can do or do some well-being for our society, fellow society, right? We cannot see them in suffering in this much. So, in this regard, I would like to convey my special thanks to the patron, Srimati M. Sumalata Garu, correspondent, Seven Hills College of Pharmacy, and Dr. M. Niranjan Babu sir, the principal, Seven Hills College of Pharmacy, and also all the organizing committee who are putting in a lot of efforts, even though you are facing a lot of hurdles with your day-to-day life, but you make this thing happen in a successful manner. So I really appreciate your efforts and thanks for giving me an opportunity. Yes, coming to the topic, the pharmacist roles during the COVID-19 pandemic and what is the need for the wait, as we know, like it's more than 1.5 years, so still we couldn't do anything, or means like we don't see the light through the tunnel. Still we are suffering and we have been suffering throughout the day. But if we look into means instead of we still feel bad, or if we still just looking bad about looking into the situation, if we think like what we can do for the society or what we can do as from our side, so that I think it is going to help, or maybe this presentation is going to help you in a way like what are all the areas that as a pharmacist, now irrespective of any specialization or any departments or any field that we have working on as pharmacists, right? So everything that we are going to look into that, so how we can modernize or how we can revamp our service that we have already been providing or provided, so in to cater the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So in order to look into that one. So with that, my presentation outline is going to be like the introduction for the pharmacy services, right? Just a brief introduction, and what are the various pharmacy services which are offered globally, where in this one I will be covering about the different um, services which are been new to us, new to India, because with my practice in India, so I have been thinking like only few services are there for provision from the pharmacy department or from the pharmacist, but there are a lot of other services other than this, right? So we are going to look into the special services where we can, which are being offered globally. And now, challenges which are being faced by the COVID-19, because of the COVID-19, what are the challenges we are facing, and how we can enhance our services to provide for a better well-being of the society, right? So this is going to be my presentation outline. So yes, as defined, the pharmacist is a person who is been qualified, who will be capable to formulate, dispense, and provide clinical services and information on the drugs to the health professionals, patient, and general public, right? So this, I know this short-term training program has been attended by various faculty members throughout the country, or from different part of the world. We know the definition for the pharmacist, right? So maybe this how we are been delivering our services. Okay, so whether we have been whether we have been really focusing or addressing on the definition which has been defined, maybe to certain extent yes, but to certain extent no, right? Means like we select a particular stream, right? If we select academic sector, or we want to be an academician, so we focus on that one, right? But the other thing we don't really focus on. But it doesn't mean that we cannot keep too many legs in all the fields, where various we need to select the specialization, so that go. But whatever it is, pharmacists are considered as a medication expert, right? We do provide the information about the medications, right? So to the public, and even every one of us, we have faced something, some situation, like when we say, like when we have been started doing our BPharm, or DPharm, when we say this to our relative, then definitely what the question means, like they will be immediately asking like what is the use of a particular medication or what we do, right? So right from our course, we have started being providing the information to the public. Okay, so this expert service or expertise is being provided to various settings, where it is not necessarily or not only restricted to the patient only, or not restricted only to the physician, not like that one. Anybody, right? Whether we provide a specialist pharmacy service or a generalist, or also known as the general pharmacy services, right? So whatever it is, means like we are being providing in our service in various area and various sector. But whatever service we provide, the final objective is to get outcome from the patient. Okay, so whether the service what we provide, it is directly or indirectly to benefit the well-being of a patient or an individual, right? So this is how the different roles of the pharmacist are generally followed in the world, mainly the dispensing, formulating, and being a community pharmacist, and also being a patient, providing the patient counseling, mainly the industry, right? So we come from pharma company, or the pharma capital of the world, right? So in research and development, mainly the academics, and in the clinical sector, right? So these are all considered as the various roles as a pharmacist we can pick in after we complete our study, right? So this perceptions so far what we had, maybe it may be changed a bit when we look into the report which was been by the WHO on 2006, right? So here there was a report which was being published, titled like new tool to enhance the role of pharmacists in healthcare, right? So what they have suggested is, they have been found like the traditionally we the pharmacists have been involved in the manufacturing and the supplying the medicines only traditionally by the 2006. Okay, where the medicine which we have prepared for the patient or for any individual, right, it has been it have to be used safely, where the end users have to be used it with caution, and the pharmacist services have been facing difficulty when we have been providing only this one, because of the increasing health demands and the increasing in the range of medications, right? So there are different class of medications and the different types of, and even when we come for dispensing like the different brands, right? So there are a lot of things about the medicines, and mainly the poor adherence to the prescribed medications. Wait, there are a report like from the different countries stating like even the developed countries. I'm not speaking about the other developing or underdeveloped countries. The developed countries, economically, they are economically when they have been categorized as a developed country, the patient adherence is contributing only for the 50%. That means like 50% of the other population from the developed country, they are not even adhering to the medication, right? So this was on 2006. Wait, and when we are looking into the other developing countries, like it was even lesser than this one, right? So considering this, they have come out with together with the International Pharmaceutical Federation, also known as the FIP, the guidelines in the form of a handbook, like developing pharmacy practice, focus on a patient care, where that have been defining like what are the important rules of a pharmacist as we need to play in a healthcare setting instead of selling medicines alone, right? So thereby they have conceived or they have promoted a concept called as the 7-star concept, where as a pharmacist we are expected to fulfill this 7 criteria. This was being published in 2006 by the WHO, right? So as a pharmacist, we should be a caregiver, a decision maker, a communicator, manager, lifelong learner, teacher, and leader, right? So this is the 7 areas where as a pharmacist we need to fulfill in. Means like it doesn't mean that every individual pharmacist have to fulfill in all the 7 stars, not like that one. Even what the stream or what the department that we select or what the specialization we select, like we can be like if you are working in a community pharmacy, we can be a teacher also, like we are providing the patient counseling. As a leader, right, when you are working in any sector, like you need to lead your team or which will be benefiting for the patient and as well as the individual. As a caregiver, means like we are not going to provide the care for the patient, but we will be optimizing the patient, right? So we don't interfere on the physician's territory by the way, by any chance. The decision maker, yes, in Western countries, the decision are being made by the pharmacist, like which drug to be selected and what all the other interventions to be made, right? So that is why pharmacists play a major role in decision and making decisions, and not only for the patient in individualizing the patient regimen, even the pharmacists are playing a role in formulating the policy, right? The governmental policy and the regulations, they have been involving the pharmacists. Maybe you can refer to some other countries where the pharmacists are also being selected as a member of parliament, where they will be dedicatedly, they will be working on the Ministry of Health, where they will be framing the policies and the guidelines, so which will be followed by every one of us. I'm speaking about the other part, right? As a communicator, we do communicate, and manager, yes. Wait, comparing with the 7-star pharmacist, now there is an update called 9-star pharmacist. Okay, so this 9-star pharmacist is having some inclusion as a researcher, a communicator, this two, researcher and an entrepreneur. These two are the new 2 stars which have been added for the WHO concept of the pharmacist, right? So if we have a question like whether as a pharmacist do we fulfill, or do our students, when our students get graduated and when they get placed in a particular concern or in particular organization, whether do they fulfill this criteria, right? So maybe we need to think like how they can be enabled or how they can be prepared to be in to be achieved in this way, right? A leadership quality is not going to happen like directly straight when they get into some position. Maybe during their study itself, like some of the tasks have been given, like to organize the campaign, to organize even organizing the programs also, which will be helping in identifying to take leadership by the students. Okay, so coming to this health, health according to the WHO again, the World Health Organization define health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, where this state of health doesn't depend only on the mere absence of disease or infirmity. That means, like, if any individual is not having any disease or not having any particular condition, that doesn't mean that he is of good health, provided he don't cope up with a good physical health, mental health, and as well as the social well-being. Considering the COVID-19 pandemic now we are facing, the social well-being is playing a major role, right? So as an individual, a layman, right? How good they are being behaving or being in the society. If we don't look up the well-being of the other members in our society or nearby, so that means like we are causing harm, right? So this is where um, we need to as an individual we have been failing to do so, right? Not only in one particular country or in one particular area, throughout the world, like it has been commonly seen. Okay, so in order to achieve that health, the pharmacy services are being providing, like in terms of the pharmaceutical care, where in terms of the pharmaceutical care we will be providing the services or the activities where individual pharmacists will be cooperating with the patient and the other professionals, right? Why we need to cooperate with the patient is like the patient also have to be included in the decision making, right? So now they are the policy making, or even when we are making for any therapy for the patient also have to be involved in making decision for him. That means like whether he need to take the medication or not, so they need to decide. So that's why cooperating with the patient and other professionals in designing, implementing, and monitoring a therapeutic plan. By doing this one, the outcome is going to improve the patient's quality of life, right? So this is how every pharmacy service, right? This pharmaceutical care definition, or even any definition for this pharmacy, clinical pharmacy services, it's not like more towards the clinical pharmacy or the pharmacy practice. Like as every pharmacist, we will be providing services in the area of clinical pharmacy and as well as in the pharmacy practice. Okay, so here worldwide, it is commonly followed or commonly known as the clinical pharmacy services, but we maintain it as a pharmacy services, right? So any individual with a pharmacy background, they can provide those services. With any specialization in addition to the BPharm background, so that will be adding weightage or adding value for his degree. Okay, so nevertheless, this pharmacy services provided throughout the world is through the form of any services or the activities where, in order to minimize the inherent risks associated with the use of medication, that means like any risk which have been associated with the medicines, to increase the patient safety at every point of time, and to manage the pathway to increase the patient safety and to optimize the health outcome, right? Optimizing is what majorly a keyword for a pharmacy outcome, right? So we will be optimizing the health outcome for the patients. Okay, so these are just the few services as a clinical pharmacy or a pharmacy is being provided, like medication reconciliation. This will be avoiding in missing out or in adding up any drugs, right? Irrational drug use can be avoided, where this process is something known as like we check at every transition point. Transition point is where, like, from one point to another point. That means like if a patient have visited a community pharmacy and he have taken some over-the-counter drugs, also known as the OTC medications, and later his condition don't get resolved, and then he go to the hospital. Okay, so there at that point it is a one transition point. At they will be checking like what are the other OTC medication they will be taking. Like this, every point the medication reconciliation how to be done. It's been done, and assessing the current medication management, yeah, by looking into the what medication chart or the medication chart, right? So from the patient's case file, so we can assess the current medication management. Clinical review is to look into the patient outcome, right? How the patient has been exhibiting or how he has been responding to the therapy. And therapeutic drug monitoring, yes, it is monitoring the drug concentration in the body fluids in order to fulfill the objectives, right? So the objectives could be various objectives are there. adverse drug reaction management, and contributing to the medication management plan and providing medicine information, also known as the drug information, and facilitating the continuity of medication management on discharge or transfer, right? So while the patient get admitted, one transition point, he take the other medications, and after he get the treatment and then he get discharged, there is another transition point where the patient medication have to be clearly informed, advised, so that he continue even after his discharge when needed. Okay, participating in interdisciplinary ward rounds and meetings to get it better for the patient, right? So this is how the ward pharmacy or ward rounds or the clinical pharmacy services will be provided in ward, where it can be like based on the departments, right? These are all not only the departments. In addition to this, a lot of departments are there. Now, our country also is been appointing different clinical pharmacists for every department, and these are all the areas or the major activities as a clinical pharmacist we will be doing in the wards. Okay, yeah. The other special services that I have said in the beginning of my session, right? So one is the parental nutrition service or parental nutrition pharmacy services, where here the pharmacist will be suggesting and preparing and monitoring the TPN bags, and they will be calculating for the patients or the individual's requirement, where for the TPN, also known as the total parental nutrition, and also the enteral nutrition, EN, right? So we will be looking to the patient factor individually, and this what combination or what composition have to be given, and how it has been, the preparation is been done, either it has been commercially made available TPN bags, or if it has been it has been compounded in a hospital, right? So, and monitoring the patient after the administration, and as well as before administering this TPN. So what is the TPN admixture is fulfilling the requirements, right? So that is what the pharmacists will be doing their service. Okay. Cytotoxic drug reconstitution, this TPN and as well as the CDR will be reconstituted in the aseptic room, where aseptic room under the laminar airflow cabinet, where the cytotoxic drugs are having a toxic nature, which cause harm to any individual who has been dealing with that one, where the pharmacists are being providing or reconstituting the cytotoxic drug, and they compound in a way, and then all the other areas where the pharmacist will be involved is the preparing the cytotoxic drugs, reconstitutioning, administering, and the disposal of the hazardous drug. And in case of any emergencies due to any disaster, right? So if the spillage, the cytotoxic spillage is there, or even the ampule which carry the cytotoxic drug have been broken down. So any kind of the disaster at that particular area or in the hospital will be taken care by the pharmacist. It have to be followed with the SOP, strict SOPs, okay? The standard operating procedure. Where methadone replacement therapy is another service, where this is like a kind of a smoking cessation program, but this is for the drug abusers, right? So this methadone clinics will be providing this methadone, where this methadone will be causing an euphoric state to the patient or to the individual, so they will be getting rid of the drug what they have been abusing before, right? So where this methadone replacement therapy, also the methadone clinics will be. In the methadone clinic, the doctor will be prescribing the methadone and the pharmacist will be supervising the consumption. That means like just like the DOTS therapy for the tuberculosis, where the patient have to take the medication in front of the health officer, right? So this methadone have to be taken in front of the pharmacist, right? So this will help in achieving a good patient adherence. Okay, so the next one is the medication therapy adherence clinic, where this, shortly known as the MTAC in Malaysia, maybe we can consider it as patient counseling services, where the patient counseling services provided in different clinics. Okay, so this is the respiratory patient counseling service. Like the pharmacist has been teaching like how to use the inhalers and how to use the nebulization, because the adherence, that doesn't mean that if they do everything as instructed, but they miss out a few certain points, means like it is going to be difficult, right? So if they do everything correctly, but the mouthpiece is not holded strictly or tightly over his mouth, that means like the medication which has been relaxed or relieved from the inhaler is not going to be administered completely, right? So this is the major non-complaints we do monitor among the respiratory patients, where here it is for the diabetic patients, like how they need to plan for their food and how they need to take the insulin, and even how they need to dispose the shots after they inject the insulin, right? So everything will be informed to the patients, and if the patient is minor, or if he cannot process, or he cannot receive the information which we have been informed to the individual, a patient representative can help in presenting, right? So by doing this, by educating this one, we can achieve a patient adherence to the medication. This have been followed. Patient counseling has been followed worldwide since long time, right? So now adherence is being majorly achieved. Okay, so this patient counseling session have to be attended a few sessions. Like it's not like a one shot, like you attend for one session and it's going to be everything okay. Not like that one. It have to be conducted in a different sessions in order to achieve initially to educate them, and then to note how they are performing, right? So whether the instruction that you have given is been followed or not, right? So that in addition to this one, the therapeutic drug monitoring, nuclear pharmacy, where the pharmacists who are dealing with the radioactive substances for the diagnosis and as well as for the treatment is being done by the pharmacist. Smoking cessation, right? The pharmacist will be helping in helping the smokers to get rid of the smoking, like by motivating them. Like in the counseling, there is a separate area called as the motivational counseling or motivational interviewing. Okay, by doing that one, we will be helping the individual to get rid of the smoking. Wait, if you look into this, how the smoking is impacted, because now this topic is like regarding the COVID-19, right? So I will take you further. But this smoking cessation, now everyone are staying at home. The smokers, they might have increased the number of cigarettes because of staying at home, and maybe due to the stress what they feel with the current condition, right? So this is majorly needed, as there are reports stating that the drug abuse and as well as the smoking cessation are also, the cases are also is being getting increased, where pharmacists, we need to do it more effectively even then, right? So in order to get rid of them, return your medicine program, where the unused medications can be returned back to the hospital or to the pharmacy, where that will be utilized appropriately instead of avoiding the wastage of the medications. Okay, so these were the services. So far, we have discussed about. I have discussed about the services which have been followed so far, and it have been effectively done. But now, since December 2019 onwards, we are in a what to say, in a stressful condition, COVID-19, right? The pandemic is all over the world, and especially our country is facing the crisis, the disaster at this moment. But how this has been affecting the services what we have been provided so far is like whatever we have achieved so far, right? The patient adherence, and now because of this COVID, any individual is fearing to go out. They cannot go out, or they cannot even for purchasing the medications, right? So yes, of course, every one of us, we have to stay at home, but for a long-term care needed, that means like when a patient needs a long-term care, that means like he need to take a medication for a long term. If he don't take, or if he or she don't take the medications, it is going to cause harm for that individual, right? So if you look into the reports or the guidelines, what they say, like their condition, the comorbid condition also have to be taken care of. Like just because of this COVID-19, we should not leave anything aside, right? So if a diabetic patient have taken the medications before COVID, so now also they need to continue the same, right? So if not, means like this COVID is going to cause is going to attack in a very different manner. It is going to be much more difficult for the diabetic patient. Okay, so like whatever services we have provided so far is definitely have been affected. Even as a pharmacy staff, pharmacy faculty member, we have delivered our lectures, we have delivered our practicals, hands-on training, everything in a face-to-face manner. But now, because of this COVID, maybe most of the time the lectures and the face-to-face training are being restricted, right? So that's maybe now that has been compensated by the online seminars, workshops, or even the short-term training programs, or even the webinars. But if we look into the effectiveness of providing, that means like it is not 100% effective, like how we deliver the lecture. Maybe for one or two topics, yes, it's okay, but the efficiency for face-to-face teaching is much greater than the online teaching, right? And especially pharmacy, which is a skill-based program or a skill-based course, it have to be done in a way like the labs and the clinical clerkships, everything have to be done in a way like in a face-to-face. We cannot simulate everything for a budding pharmacist, right? So later they also have to be facing this crisis, right? No wonder even after they graduate immediately, they may be joining in a hospital where they need to address or they need to focus on the or look or manage the COVID crisis condition. Okay, so there this is been affected by anyway, but there are some other ways which we can overcome in order to not to reduce the efficiency. Okay, so the major disruption because of the COVID-19 was the limitation or the interruption in the pharmacy supplies, right? Initially, if you can remember, during the early 2020s, there was been very limited stock of face masks, the PPE kits, and even some of the medications, right? So the medications which were been that time it was been promoted to be taken for the COVID during the COVID conditions, like everything was being in scarcity. It was not being completely made available. It doesn't mean, or it doesn't apply only for the pharmacies, or it was been affecting even the hospitals also, right? The hospital, they need to treat the patients, and even mainly because of the COVID-19, one of the hospital where I have been trained and I was been working for quite some time, they say like the hospital occupancy was reduced to 50%. 50% in the sense, previously, if on an average in a month, if the hospital have received around 10,000 patients, like because of the COVID, like it have been reduced to 5,000 patients only. Wait, here we need to look into one parameter, whether this reduction in the hospital occupancy, maybe yes, we can say like the patients are staying at home, but how about the long-term therapy or long-term care which was being needed for the every individual? They have been restricting themselves to come out to get the facility. Okay, and the even if they get admitted in the hospital also, like the pharmacy supplies were being interrupted, they with the effective service or effective work by the pharmacist, this have been overcome, like how the pharmacists have been managing the supply or the procurement have been done effectively, right? So there are a lot of articles, like I will show you, I will share it with you later, like mainly how this supply chain was being interrupted was the challenges were there mainly in the procurement, like whenever even when we call to a stockist, means like they say like the wholesaler, they say like it's not available. Even the company where they manufacturing the medications also, they say like the out of stock, right? So this should not be happen, right? So during the COVID crisis or during any crisis or disaster, the stocks have to be managed properly, right? It goes from the every department, every organization, every state, and as well as every nation. They need to fulfill the stock for the countries or for the individuals' need. Okay, the price hike was also there, which was made unaffordable for certain groups. Where when the cost of the medication have been increased for certain drugs, where the people, those who have been taking the medication or taking that particular medication, they have been affected. Sometimes it have been led to the non-adherence also, right? So this don't apply for the countries or for the agencies where the cost of treatment is being absorbed or being taken care by the government or by any other facility. But considering our country, like in India, like most of the treatment is being paid from the individual's pocket, right? Even the health insurance, yes, to a certain extent, yes, but majority of the contribution is being made by the paid from our pocket, right? So that means like every penny we pay, like it has been it should be valuable one. When this price hike was being there, um, a few group where because of the lack of job and suddenly they lost the job and a lot of things happened, right? So they were not affordable for the drugs, that led to the poor adherence also. Okay, so another thing is like the public mainly depend on the community pharmacies. Like even as a community pharmacist is the first point of a healthcare team. Like when any individual is having any disease or any condition, they will go and approach a community pharmacist only. Nobody will go directly to the hospital at a very first point. Okay, so this applies to the majority of the population. But with this COVID-19, this was a report from an article published in from the United States. They have been compiled, or they have got a report from around 9 to 12, I think 14 countries. I think 14 countries. They have found like after this COVID-19 have happened, the patient got infected with this COVID-19. On an average, they have consumed about 19.8 medications per patient per day. That means like how many COVID-19 patients have been admitted in the hospital, and that times 19.8. So this supply was being effectively carried out by the pharmacist, and as a clinical pharmacist, for every patient, every COVID patient, 8 interventions. Intervention is something like the pharmacist will be visiting during the ward rounds to the patient, and they will be monitoring the patient response. And in some cases, like if the drug therapy which was been found to be irrational one or not appropriate one, they need to make changes. That is what called as the intervention. And even sometimes the patient also will not be happy to take the medication. When you do the counseling, it is an intervention, right? So like that, 8 times the patient have to be intervened, or the patient case have to be intervened by the pharmacist per day. You think like the workload which was being for a clinical pharmacist working in a COVID ward, which include 20 patients, minimum of 20 patients, right? Now 20 patients is not even a number, but you think about the workload where the pharmacists have to put on for getting a better treatment for the patient. Okay. Medication adherence, before the pandemic in the low middle income countries, there have been poor medication adherence, but later, right? So because of the implementation of the lockdowns and the movement restrictions now we have, right? So the individual, as I mentioned in the last slide, like every individual, they have restricted themselves, right? So they don't go and take the medication. And even especially if you look into the geriatric population, they simply say like, why should I take the medication? I already have seen my life, so now I don't want to suffer more. So just let whatever happen, let it happen, right? So this is what nowadays the geriatric people's mindset. And some people also, like they say like they cannot afford for getting the medications, right? So this lockdown and the movement restriction also have played a major role in making the patient non-adherent. And this healthcare professional, because of this disaster management, this healthcare professional, all the healthcare professionals have been moved into the frontliner. That means like those who have been working in the hospital, where they have been providing service to the through the consultation. They have been moved as a frontliner. That means like they need to take care of the COVID-19 patients, where there was limited resources for the patient to communicate with. Okay, so that also have been contributed to less adherence for the medication. Wait, another report says like there was the perception among the every individuals, like if they go out or if they go to a hospital, immediately they may contract a disease, right? So yes, to a certain extent it is yes, but following the standard operating procedures and following the guidelines, it may be avoided, right? Why I have put this point over here is, even though the individual have to go for his prescription refill, have to go for his consultation, but thinking like going to a hospital or going to a pharmacy or going to a clinic will cause them COVID-19. So that's why they restrict and they have left taking the medication, right? So as a pharmacist, we have counseled them to comply to the medications, and we have achieved that for a long time. By then, now all of a sudden, because of this COVID, the patient say like, I don't want to take the medication, right? Another factor like livelihood was being affected mainly, where non-compliance is a barrier to the patient health, where once the patient were not complying to the medications, it's going to increase the burden for the healthcare team members, right? So here, as I mentioned before, like not only the COVID is the current crisis, even the other non-communicable disease also is being not being treated, or even the funds, or even the caution, or the what is it, the special attention which has been given for the other diseases have been reduced to a certain extent because of this COVID now. So that means like everywhere we can see like COVID, COVID, COVID. That doesn't mean that the other diseases have been eradicated or have been vanished off. Still, diabetes is a problem, renal is a problem, and also the cancer. Everything is a problem. The long-term therapy is being neglected at any cost, right? So which is a barrier for healthcare. Okay, so this was being impacted psychologically because of this pandemic among the patients, like because of those who have the chronic diseases, where this I have discussed before. So, how as a pharmacist, what we can do is, if the patient don't come to the pharmacy, maybe the pharmacy services can be extended to the individual, or extended to the patient, right? So now some of the pharmacies, maybe if you look into our country, some of the chain pharmacies, or the corporate, the chain pharmacies, they have been implementing like providing the door delivery services, right? So you purchase for a certain number, so you deliver the medications. And maybe in addition to that one, maybe we can adopt some other methods also, like drive-through pharmacy. Like before the patient, the individual, he just call the pharmacy and he will tell you like what are the medications he need, and then he will be coming. And also with the help of the computerized medication order, and maintaining the data of the individual. If the patient call the pharmacy and they say like, this is my customer number, so I want this medications, so please get ready with that one, means they can prepare the medications with that one, and the patient can come directly to the pharmacy, and they deliver it, and then they can go off. No need to go to the pharmacy, no need to go inside also. But here the precautions like screening the prescriptions and looking for the prescription refilling also have to be done professionally. Okay, so this picture, this value-added services, this drive-through pharmacy was being implemented in Malaysia long time back. This is not during the COVID one. This was been, I think, 4 or 5 years back. This was being implemented, where anyone can come in and they can get the medication and they can go off, right? So now this has been helping to a major extent. Like the patient, they call the pharmacy. This is, by the way, this is the pharmacy in a hospital, where the hospital, they have like a drive-through pharmacy, where they will be receiving calls from the individual. They will be getting it ready, everything they will keep ready, and they will be giving an appointment stating like, this time you can come and get your medications. They come in, they inform, and then they dispense the medication, so they go off. By doing this one, this exposure to the setting can be reduced a bit. Okay, so yes, this was the picture taken during the non-COVID time. So COVID time means like the presence of the mask will help, like, so they can take the medication, they go off, and they can take the medications, and they can adhere to the therapy which was being given. And if not, means like the delivery of the medications can be done through the postal services or the courier services, right? So or even any individual from the pharmacy, they can go and drop it at their home, at their doorstep, so that they can follow the medications as prescribed. Okay, so SMS and collect also, like they can SMS beforehand about what are the medications that need, and then it will be packed and be kept ready. So then it will be like, basically this is a concept of McD, drive-through McD, or a drive-through any cafe, where you look in, like you order, you come and you take. Like, so if it can be done for a eating thing, means like, why can't it be adopted? Like it was been successfully adopted by the Malaysian one, and most of the countries, they have been doing this one, right? So as maybe as a pharmacist, we can think about this one also. Like when we are setting up a pharmacy, maybe we can give an area for a drive-through facility also, right? So yeah. And the other age group which are being specially affected by this COVID-19 is the pediatric age group, right? The individuals who falls under the category of the pediatric age group. So mainly the concern is like the vaccination. the vaccination have been affected drastically. Even that's why even the WHO have even especially they have published a report stating like uh, I just read through this report like there has been some progress. Regional coverage for the third dose of DTP in South Asia has increased by 12 percentage points over the 10 years, right? So as the immunization schedule which was being proposed or which was being followed widely throughout the world, where the World Health Organization report says like for the 10 years of all the effort, all the facility, all the facilitation, they could achieve a 12 percentage of increase of getting vaccination for a particular dose. But because of this COVID-19 in certain countries, this have been completely disturbed. That means like number of individuals who are getting vaccinated. That means I'm not speaking about the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm speaking about the normal immunization schedule which have to be administered for a pediatric patient. It was not being effectively done, right? So the parents also not willing to go for a vaccination considering the COVID effect, right? So they think like if they go to a hospital or a clinic means like it is going to cause harm or going to infect with the COVID-19. But this vaccination and the immunization have virtually eliminated most of the diseases as of now. Like now we don't have, we have achieved a war against the polio. We have achieved a war against a certain diseases, right? By this must been achieved mainly or majorly because of following because of the immunization schedule that we have been taken so far, right? So, but this hard-earned achievement is just going like that, where going like that because of this COVID-19, where this COVID-19 may be treated in another 1 or 2 years, right? So by that time, we may be completely eradicate this COVID-19, hopefully. But if now we don't go for, if we give a chance or if we take a chance to not vaccinate the children, they there is a high risk for the individual to get the disease again, right? So the disease what we have been eliminated virtually. That means like we don't have the particular diseases now, like diphtheria and the other thing, like certain countries they don't even have that disease because of the vaccinations, right? So if we are compromising in not vaccinating the individuals, like again the diseases is going to happen. That is what the consent by the WHO, right? So this can be like even on 15 July 2020, the UNICEF and the WHO also have warned on the alarming decline in the number of children receiving the life-saving vaccines around the world, right? So for too many decades, like whatever effort we have been made to get vaccinated, to create awareness about the vaccination, to create among the children and everything, like now it is just going just because of this COVID-19. But even the COVID-19 stage, the vaccination also have to be done simultaneously, right? So that also like the movies statement say on like the show must go on. The vaccination for the pediatric patients or for the children also have to be done completely. Okay, so this can be avoided by inconsistent. This is happening because of the inconsistent communication between the pharmacists, doctors, and the other primary care providers because of lack of shared patient record systems. When the patient information is not being shared, like or no transparency of the complete information about the vaccine history, that means like the other party also will not be knowing about this one, right? So how this can be effectively done is by involving the pharmacist in vaccination. Yes, of course, now there are a lot of debates going on, like whether to get the COVID-19 vaccine or not, or even the COVID-19 vaccines are being given, like how effectively or how rapidly it can be given, right? So before we think about or we talk about the COVID-19 vaccine, we need to really look into the vaccination for the children. The immunization schedule have to be done by the pharmacist. Okay, so that's why the American Disease Prevention Council have called on the states, the United States, to ensure the pharmacists are permitted to provide and administer all approved immunizations, right? So this was being in view of or in line of considering to achieve adherence or to increase the vaccination rates among the children, right? To follow the immunization schedule completely. This was being followed based on a study by 2018, a study on 2018 by the John Hopkins University, where they have examined the using pharmacies or the pharmacist in administering the flu vaccines. Okay, when the flu epidemic have occurred in the United States, they have uh, they have rapidly administered the flu vaccines through the entire nation by involving the pharmacist and by involving the pharmacies, the community pharmacies, right? So by doing this one, they have practically they have proved the thousands of lives and the billions of dollars have been saved, right? So by involving the pharmacists, this was been evident. So based on this model, now they have been calling on like the pharmacists have to be permitted for getting vaccination to administer the vaccinations, right? So now we can think about the Indian scenario. Now we see everyone are running or rushing towards the vaccination, but there is lack of supply. Yes, of course, but even the supply is there. If based on the appointment, if we go through appointment through certain centers for long time, means the vaccination, the entire nation cannot be vaccinated rapidly, right? It will be taking, sometimes it may take years also, right? So this can be avoided by including the vaccination in the pharmacies. That means the pharmacist can provide the vaccinations. By doing this one, we can effectively vaccinate every individuals located in our neighborhood. For your information, the study reports are saying, or not the study report, there was a report saying, stating that in the United States, for every 8 kilometers, right? So if you are living in a area in a perimeter of 8 kilometers, you will be approachable, or you will be accessing a community pharmacy, right? Not 8 kilometers, 5 miles, which makes for the 8 kilometer, yes, right? So that means every United States citizens are being accessible to a community pharmacy within the radius of 8 kilometers. But they can say they can implement the services effectively. They can implement the immunization or the vaccination by the pharmacy and through the pharmacies. But you think into the Indian scenario, our country, we do have more number of community pharmacies. We do have the radius is not even 8 kilometers. Even within the radius of every 1 kilometer, we come across a pharmacy, right? So I'm not saying every pharmacist have to be given permission for vaccination. Maybe we can select in a particular region, like maybe in a particular town or in a particular city, maybe we can select different pharmacies, and the pharmacist can be trained. I repeat, the pharmacists have to be trained. Again, the other non-pharmacists, if they come in, means it is going to be another disaster, right? The pharmacists have to undergo the training, and they have to do the vaccinations. By doing this one, the parents, they don't need to go to the hospital to get their children vaccinated, and the immunization can be done effectively from the community pharmacies. And now coming for the COVID-19 also, if we can implement this COVID-19 vaccination through the community pharmacies, and the pharmacists are given a right to vaccinate for the individual, we can effectively do, and we can do it at a rapid phase, right? So this is what we have to do. This is some news articles stating how we are going to vaccinate our total population, right? So the total population means the whole entire nation have to be vaccinated, and the two for the 2 doses. This is going to be a really difficult job. If the vaccines are being restricted only to a certain area or to a certain facility only, the community pharmacists can be really, or the pharmacists can be really considered to vaccinate. Okay. So these are some of the news clips that I have collected, of throughout the world. The pharmacy students are having the opportunities to learn and help the communities during the COVID-19 vaccination events, like the pharmacists do, and the pharmacy students are being involved. That means the budding pharmacists, they are being involved in the disaster management. Okay, so one pharmacist from Oklahoma have delayed her retirement to help with the vaccines, right? So they know the importance of providing vaccines. So stating that the vaccination is important, so the retirement is not that important, right? So this is how they take the professional services to their heart. Maybe we also, it's not to blame. Now it's not a time for a blame game. Like we can take our services more effectively, more professionally also, right? Okay, and these are all some of the information from the World Health Organization. Again, like what are the countries which allow the pharmacists to vaccinate? Okay, so the pharmacies and the pharmacist, whether they have been allowed to provide the vaccination, right? So this is the report from the WHO stating that it is not something new. Like the pharmacies and the pharmacists can do vaccination, and through the other part of the world now it has been effectively implemented. That means like the pharmacist can be, the pharmacy force can be effectively implemented in vaccinating our fellow being. Yes. Coming to the geriatric care, the geriatric care is in another area or the another age group where most vulnerable age group now to the COVID-19, and even if they are not suffering from the COVID-19, it's like because of the other conditions they have been facing complications, and they have been facing trouble because of that, because of their condition, right? So um, aging nation was on 1901. Our population was 5.06% of our total population was under the geriatric population, and in 2001 it was projected, it was 7.7, and in 2050 it was being projected to 20%. That means like you can see like around 324 million of our geriatric population is going to be a geriatric one. Okay, so among this, 75% of the geriatric populations, they are living in the rural areas, and because of the background, and the other complications also, like the comorbid complications are also more and high among the geriatric population. Okay, so that brings an attention, like because of this COVID-19, they have not taken the medication first of all, and they are not having any help or any services provided to them. Okay, so these are all the some of the areas where in the normal time the pharmacists have been providing help or service for the geriatric population, like preventing the ADRs associated with the emergency departments, and optimizing the medication regimens to prevent the disease progression and to facilitate the communication, like so how good they can take the medications, and performing the medication reconciliations, right? So that I discussed before. Yeah. So this means like the geriatric population also same like the pediatric one, they are not having any access to visit a clinic or visit a facility to treat or to get consultation for their condition. Okay, so how this can be overcome is by implementing something called as the home medication review, right? Instead of the geriatric population come to the clinic or come to the pharmacy, maybe the pharmacy or the doctors or from the hospital, they can go to the patient's home, the geriatric home, right? So there, this home medication review is something like the visit will be performed by the multidisciplinary team of healthcare professionals, like the doctors, nurses, and the pharmacists also will be there. And as we know, like now it may not, if it is not possible to have the multidisciplinary team, maybe the pharmacist we can provide, we can visit the individual's home, right? So in this home medication review, the pharmacist will be assessing the patient's adherence, like instead of assessing at our facility, we go in their facility and we assess for their patient adherence. And in case if there was any difficulty in adhering or in achieving that adherence, maybe we can provide them the counseling and whatever services, everything we can provide at their home. Okay, so you can also identify any pharmaceutical care issue pertaining to the therapy what they have been taking, and maybe we can direct them accordingly. Okay, so in Malaysia there are three types of home medication review are being provided, like the patient who are having the neurological disorder, psychiatrical disorders, and as well as the geriatric, because they need a special attention or a special care to bring them to the hospital. So that's why instead of bringing them or troubling them to bring them to the hospital or the healthcare team visit them in their home, right? So this also can be done by our side. And the medication adherence among the geriatric and as well as in the other age group also can be improved by the community pharmacies, where we can apply the technology like delivering the medicine as well as delivering to the home, and the courier services also can be effectively done, but this will be following or subject to the regulations. Okay, So we cannot courier all the medications as needed. So it have to be based on the regulations. Only we need to do that one. Okay. Yeah. Now, the patient counseling initially or the patient consultation have been initially done through face-to-face, right? Just like the lecture. But now because of this COVID-19, so we cannot do that one, right? So that means like the patients, no matter whether they're geriatric or a pediatric, they have been restricting themselves from at their home, but they want to consult us. Means like maybe we can use the technology like the telemedicine, right, through the video calls, or now the session has also been conducted through the Google Meet, right? So like that, we can also implement the technology to provide the consultations to the persons in need. Okay, so this like instead of we have a patient counseling session in front, maybe we can have it through the video calls or through telephonic conversations, like we can have, right? So by doing this one, like the patient or the individual no need to come or step out of his home. Pharmacies also, we can provide our service from our side, right? So if it is through a video call, it will be effectively, we can do the patient counseling also, right? So and especially for the patients who are being quarantined now, like everyone are having a doubt. Even if we have a cough, straight away we may be thinking like whether we have been suffering from the COVID-19 or not. Then we just Google it and we see. Sometimes the Google result also will be ending up uh, stating like we have the COVID-19. Means like it may not be authenticated one, right? So this can be consultation can be done by the professionals, and pharmacy, we can provide the telepharmacy, right? So through the process of telepharmacy, we can uh, by use the technology to provide them the information. And the patient counseling through the online way will be providing the greater satisfaction. Less, yes, of course, it is not that equal like having a face-to-face discussion, but through video calls, maybe it may be better, right? So instead of something better than nothing, right? So it will be effective in counseling them. Okay. Yes, these are the from the various reports, like what the pharmacists have been doing in combating with the COVID-19, right? So the COVID-19, the pharmacists in the hospital, like no matter whether the hospital pharmacist or a clinical pharmacist, where they are doing the services altogether collectively, like evaluating the emerging COVID-19 drug therapy options, and also based on the reputation or the updation of the protocols or the guidelines, they have been making the drugs available in their facility. Right? The drug availability, it have to be following the treatment protocols, right? So that have been done, and monitoring and adjusting the COVID-19 medications to prevent the adverse side effects. Yes, and managing the drug shortages, like procuring, and all the hospitals are now effectively supplying their need of the hospital and every facility. But maybe in India it will take a little bit time to establish this one. So but even then the pharmacists are being effectively doing this one, maintaining uninterrupted drug supply to the needy one. Like even if a COVID patient can consume about 19.8%, means like 19.8 medications per day, means like it is not that less number. Okay, so yes, it has been done effectively, and resolving the supply chain issues for critical care medicines, and adjusting the workflow to preserve the personal protective equipment for the persons who are in need. Okay, and establishing the new pharmacy services in temporary COVID-19 hospitals. And from the community pharmacy setting, um, they set up the COVID-19 clinics, like the dedicated pharmacies have been setting up like COVID-19 clinics, and they are using the telehealth or the telepharmacy to provide the chronic care management, and also they are providing the COVID-19 testing also is being done in the community pharmacies, right? So pharmacies are involving themselves in the healthcare team also, like in treating the COVID-19 patient also. And most importantly, nowadays the community pharmacists are working in the public health area, or to achieve the public health, especially with respect to the COVID-19. Like they need to create awareness among the public, right? So now maybe if we look into our country, there is a lack of awareness about the vaccination. Now yes, everyone want to rush for their vaccination, but even still, some majority of the people they have been having a doubt like let everything goes over, then we can take the vaccination, and there are a lot of doubts, right? Even after taking vaccination, also they do get infected. So why I should take the medication or why I should take the vaccination? And now there are other news are also being circulating stating that if anyone take the vaccination means like uh, they may die because of the clotting issues, right? So that those kind of knowledge or those kind of information may be clarified through the means of the patient counseling, like creating awareness. And because COVID-19 can be easily managed only once we get vaccinated, right? So that is what it is successfully it has been proven, right? Yeah. Altogether, these are all the roles of the pharmacist during the COVID-19 pandemic, and most of the thing I think I have discussed. Where here, something that I have left out is the data analysis. Like time to time, we are getting the data from the various sectors. Like what is the number of individuals who are being infected? Means the pharmacists who are been working in the health sector, they will be getting the analytics. Uh, I'm doing research on the medications, right? So even new medications, uh, it may be launched, and also it has been in progress. Currently, it has been going on. Educating, yes, our fellow pharmacists, we are educating, and as well as the public, we have been educating them. And drug shortages have been overcome. Patient rounds has been done effectively. Drug information provided either face to face or non face to face also. PP preservation is mainly done in order to safeguard the frontliners, and patient screening done separately. Means like most of the other countries they do, and the drug review also they do, right? So in addition to this one, there is one more point to be added, like the pharmacist can be effectively used in contact tracing also. Contact tracing is something like when one individual have contracted the disease, maybe it will be spread because that is the disease pattern of an infectious disease, right? So they will be transmitting from one to another, where it is getting difficult for the healthcare team to identify who are all the contacts, right? So in order to trace the contacts, the pharmacist can also be included, where some of the countries they are including the pharmacists to trace the contact in managing the COVID-19, right? So I think yeah. So these are all the things which have been done in the other part of the world, and some slides or some services I have said like how it can be implemented. But altogether, if you look into the basic requirement of the pharmacist to be involved in the COVID-19 management is, you see the population of pharmacists to every 10,000 people in our country, it is keep on increasing, right? So that means like the pharmacy workforce or the number of pharmacists are being increasing, so we can use the number of pharmacists effectively. But this is the ratio of the data from the WHO stating how many pharmacists we have for every 10,000 people. Okay, so you can see like in 1991 it was 1.99 pharmacists only for every 10,000. Okay, so now we have achieved like for every 10,000 people we got 8.79. This is the latest one, 2019. So now with the current number, it may be higher also, right? So by including this the workforce which have been available in our country, maybe we can effectively do in all the services, and we can easily get rid of this COVID-19. And yeah, this is the information from the COVID-19 Warriors website, where you can see like the number of pharmacies who have been registered for to be the COVID-19 warriors. Okay, so this is the top second registration, where initially it was like in the healthcare team, right? So first by the nurses and then followed by the pharmacists. But this number of pharmacists, are they being effectively utilized in managing the COVID-19 needs? That is questionable. Nurses, yeah, they have been using, they have been including themselves in the COVID-19 management. MBBS students and the MBBS doctors, they have been, yes, they have been doing their role in COVID-19 management. But the role of pharmacist is still not that good for managing the COVID-19. And if the COVID-19, if the pharmacists are being involved in this management or in COVID-19 management, we can effectively and we can at an early stage we can get rid of this disease, get rid of this disaster first of all, right? So this maybe we can have an idea, or we may be having a thinking stating that in India we don't have a recognition for the pharmacy services, but maybe I will suggest you to refer to this article, the global contribution of the pharmacists during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll tell you like what was the content of this article. Like, the pharmacists are being providing services in every possible way to manage, and even in the United States, the reports are stating that the hospital people, that means like the physicians, are appreciating, they're really appreciating the effort of the pharmacist involving in managing the COVID crisis, right? So, but this is from the hospital side, from the individual side, but there is the publication or the awareness among the public, and also the newses, there is not extensively done. That means like the pharmacists, even though in the United States well recognized, the pharmacists have been well recognized and they have been doing their services everything effectively, but their role in the COVID-19 is being less known by the other people. But the healthcare team members, they do really appreciate the need of or the contribution of the pharmacists in COVID-19. Okay, so and yes, maybe now we can say like we come across a few terms stating that the frontliners, the other, like, right? But as a pharmacist, we have been a frontliner since even before the COVID-19, right? So how means I can say like, if any individual want to consult a healthcare setup, means pharmacist or the community pharmacy is the first point where public or any individual will be approaching to, right? So in that aspect, we have been serving, or we have served as a frontliner so far, and we still, even during this pandemic also, we do provide, or we do providing our services, even though whether we have been recognized or our services have been recognized or not recognized, we still manage to work as a frontliner. We are being a frontliner, right? The pharmacists are the frontliner, and these are all the opportunities, like maybe all the areas, like even we can also look into for the COVID-19 management. Okay, so based on everyone's capability, we can, being a decision maker, if you are working in a hospital, yes, we can make the decision for the patient in that hospital. If we are a pharmacist, we play a role in a politics, right? If we are a member of any government body, then we do take a decision which will be helping for the other individual, like that it will go for every star, right? So by doing this one, we can effectively manage the COVID-19. These are all the references that I have used for my presentation, and stay safe and stay healthy. I end my presentation now. Madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hello.
Yeah, madam.
Sir, am I audible, right? Yeah, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation, sir. You just portrayed very clearly that what is the importance of a pharmacist role as a frontline warriors in the treatment of the COVID-19. And it was very much needed, as I said, and the objective was served with your presentation. And from the management and the principal side, I request you to accept this token of appreciation from our side in the form of a certificate. And definitely we'll try to give it to you when you come to India, or we'll try to post it to Malaysia.
Yeah,
So
sure.
kindly accept from the management side.
Thank you so much, madam. And I once again I thank the management, right? So for putting all the effort, and also for all the staff members and all the pharmacy fraternity, whether even though the tough time, yes, it's a tough time, we are being committed to our service. I really appreciate and I really thank everyone for doing our part part in this public. Thank you so much, madam. I would be happy if any questions.
Yeah, I'll just check the chat box.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you can see positive comments like nice presentation from Kumudavali ma'am, and people are telling thank you. Yeah, the faculty are requested to post their questions, anything regarding COVID-19. If you have any kind of doubts or any kind of obligations, you can clarify from sir. Sir, I didn't see any kind of queries here. Hope so. If the participants are having any, if such so,
Okay.
they'll be just mailing to you or they'll be contacting for the queries and clarifications.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, very short note. I just thank you once again for accepting. And just I called you and with a short note you just accepted, sir. Thank you so much for respecting and thank you so much.
My pleasure, madam. Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah,
Thank you, everyone, madam. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, sir. Because I just seen few faculties are raising a hand. So,
I think there is a question, ma'am.
yeah, there is a question from Abdul Rahman.
Yeah, are they considering pharmacists as a first line warrior in abroad? Yes, pharmacists are being considering and they are being involved in the healthcare team where in the management of the COVID-19 also, right? The pharmacists are playing a role in treating the patients, means like the disease management and as well as their outcome of the particular medications. Even COVID-19 medications are also causing side effects for the patient, so those managements have been done, and also in the public creating awareness and even the vaccinations, right? Everything the pharmacists have been effectively playing roles, right? So they are being the frontliners in abroad also.
Sir, you can track the comment chat section.
Yeah, but in India it is not at all happening. Yeah, yes, it is not at all happening. Yeah, it was a scenario before, like when I was doing masters, there was like even restriction to have the clinical pharmacist also in the healthcare setup or in a healthcare setting. But now you can see like most of the tertiary hospitals they are including or they are having a clinical pharmacist in their workplace. A clinical pharmacist is being recognized now, right? Slowly, but it is not immediately. Means like slowly it will be. That's why I this presentation is in a way like it is like creating an awareness or creating giving an input or an information, like these are all the things that as a pharmacist we can do, right? Maybe this may be what to say, stepping stone, where with this one we maybe implement some of the services that I have discussed. We may implement from our side as community pharmacies when we are having as a community pharmacy or when we are working as a community pharmacist, we can provide these services. We can implement or incorporate these services also into our facility. But later, when we move on, like when we hold into the position, definitely we can enrich the pharmacy facility, right? It's not happening. Even other faculty also or other countries also, they have been in this position long before, but now they have been utilizing the pharmacist effectively, right? So hope for the best, hope for the very best. Maybe this may be a consideration, like if the pharmacists have been involved, means like even we can fight the COVID-19 even effectively, right? So it can be done, but that needs some patience and also some time and effort from every pharmacy individual. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Faculties, still more any queries? Just post your messages in the chat box. And we can chat the session. Sir, I didn't see any kind of messages in the chat box, so
Yes.
thank you once again, sir.
Thank you,
So much
madam.
for attending. And thank you so much all the faculty members. And we'll be resuming back at 2 p.m. for the session by Dr. Tripta Gagman, a scientist G of DSIR, New Delhi. And the session link will be posted in the WhatsApp group, and the same will be mailed to you also. Please check your mail as well as your WhatsApp group, and kindly join us to the session at 1:50 p.m. sharp. So we'll be resuming at 2 o'clock. Thank you so much, and thank you, sir, once again. Bye, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Stay safe. Bye, sir.